Good afternoon, everybody. Christine Barconi here in the NBC4i Streaming Center, joined by Ohio Health's Dr. Ben Bring. He's a family doctor and also does sports medicine with Ohio Health, based out of Dublin, correct?
Yep.
Dr. Bring, it's been a minute
It
since
is.
we've talked, but I wanted to bring him on today because it's just started to snow here. I'm looking out the window in Columbus. It's going to accumulate. We're going to get a pretty good amount, 3 to 6 inches in the city of Columbus. And you know what that means, especially with schools being canceled. The kids are going to want to be outside. They're going to want to be playing and sledding and all that fun stuff. However, with this snow are coming some pretty fast dropping temperatures, and we're going to be in the single digits, which makes it kind of dangerous. So what are some things that you can tell parents to do to keep their kids safe whenever they have kids that really want to get outside?
Yeah, I mean, I think the very first thing we worry about is soft tissue injuries, things like frostbite, and it can actually set in very, very quickly, even within 30 minutes. And as you identified, even as the wind chill picks up, the lower those temperatures drop, especially if kids are wet, and then there's wind on top of it as well, it can really affect how much heat that they lose. And so even within 15 to 30 minutes, kids can start to develop frostbite symptoms. Usually that can present as redness, some numbness, some tingling in the hands and feet, any areas that are exposed. So your ears, your nose, your lips, your hands, your feet, like we said, those are some of the biggest areas that can get affected. So the best way to prevent this is limiting that exposure as much as you can. I have 2 kids too. They love to play outside in the snow, but really what we try to do is bundle them up really well, dress in layers, any kind of wool material or material that's going to keep moisture out will be very effective as well. And then just, doing frequent breaks, frequent warming breaks, we'll call them, where you can come back inside, get warm again, and then head on back out as much as you can.
And so it might be a situation where it definitely takes a little bit more time, especially the little ones, to get them dressed and they will actually be outside, but definitely worth it. So does this depend on age? So obviously toddlers all the way up to teenagers. Teenagers don't always like to put on all of the layers that they like to, but how quickly they lose heat, does it depend on their age and their size at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, younger children, they have a higher body surface area, and so they're actually more prone to losing heat faster. So younger kids, especially toddlers and infants, really should limit their outdoor exposure as much as possible. Some of your older teenagers who are closer to adults can probably spend a little bit more time outside. But really, looking at some of those signs and symptoms, especially if you start to develop some of that numbness, tingling in the hands, or even some of that burning sensation, definitely a reason to get inside and do some rewarming. Some of the favorite things that we like to do with rewarming is lukewarm water. You definitely don't want to jump into a really, really hot shower or use really hot water, as that can cause some more damage to the tissues. So lukewarm water and then just kind of gradual reintroduction back into warm temperatures can be really effective. And then long-term too, some other side effects, could be hypothermia, which obviously that would be a medical emergency if your core temperature drops below what we would call normal. That could present some big problems for kids and teenagers alike as well.
What are some things to look out for whenever you're taking a look at your kids, whenever they're coming inside, looking at their fingers or toes, all of that? What are some signs that you might want to stick it under some lukewarm water there?
Yeah, so really looking at the extremities, keeping an eye on if their hands are starting to turn red is kind of like the first sign. Especially with kids too, they'll be able to feel some of these symptoms pretty early and often too. So that's really important, is communicate with your kids, let them know, say, hey, we want you to play outside, but we just want to do it safely. And then, I think even just scheduling breaks can be really important too. Where instead of being more preventative, instead of waiting for those symptoms, just saying, hey, we're going to do about 15 to 20, maybe 30 minutes outside, and then we'll come back in, do a little bit of rewarming, get your cup of hot cocoa, chicken noodle soup, and then you can head right back on out there. And again, I'm hoping for that 3 to 5 inches for some good sledding here in Central Ohio.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely have a good list of sledding hills here in Central Ohio too that we're going to put in the link to this story. So let's do the big takeaway. So limit the time outside, dressing in layers, and if you do see signs of redness, to maybe run it under some lukewarm water, not hot water.
Absolutely, and and also trying to keep wet clothing off of kids too can be really helpful. So frequent changing can be really great. If you do have waterproof clothing or water resistant clothing on the outer layers, that can be really helpful as well. I know some parents you can also get those portable hand warmers that you can actually stick inside of gloves. It's crazy now too. I've seen some electric jackets now and electric gloves that are out there that are battery powered. So there's all kinds of cool new things that are out there to try to stay warm. But really, these low temperatures are nothing to mess around with. I remember I was in a pediatric emergency room back when we had those, the Arctic blast, the polar vortex, back in, I think it was 2014. And unfortunately, we saw a lot of skin injuries and frostbite injuries there. And unfortunately, too, some of these can be lifelong, permanently damaging to some of those tissues. So really, take frequent breaks. I also have 2 elderly dogs. So for those with the dogs out there too, try to bring your pets indoors if you can as well.
Okay, same tips for them whenever they want to go on walks, keep them short.
Absolutely. And if your dogs will tolerate the little booties, especially in the ice and snow, that's another fun thing to do. We have a dog on our street that wears them, and it's hilarious. Our kids think it's hilarious. So same thing. Trying to really limit that outdoor exposure as much as possible.
Safe for the dogs and entertainment for the neighbors. Seems like a win.
Absolutely, always.
All right, Dr. Brink, anything else that you would like to add that we may not have touched on?
Just stay safe out there. Get your vaccines if you haven't gotten them yet. Cover your mouth, and enjoy the cold weather. Just do it responsibly.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Christine.